My stepsister Mia attempted to acquire the condom my husband, Liam, and I had used, hoping to conceive a child with it. Though I discovered her scheme, I chose not to expose her. Instead, I secretly replaced it with a used condom from another person. 10 months later, Mia arrived, demanding Liam take responsibility and insisting I divorce him. Liam, with a cynical laugh, brought forward Mr. Lee, our disabled butler, and declared, "Stop spouting nonsense. The baby's true father is standing right here." 3 days after our return home, Mia, usually so hostile, surprisingly offered to help me take out the trash. It reminded me of a sensational article I'd once read. A hotel employee who swapped a millionaire's vital evidence and subsequently bore his child. A shiver ran down my spine. Liam discreetly led me into our bedroom. "Wife," he began, "I think there's something seriously wrong with your stepsister." As I too had sensed an unsettling abnormality, I urged him to elaborate. His thoughts chillingly echoed my own. He confessed he'd seen Mia meticulously rummaging through our trash, suspecting she was after our used condoms. Liam's revelation solidified my worst fears. I couldn't believe a story from the tabloids was unfolding in my own life. Seeing my growing anxiety, Liam gently reassured me, "Don't be scared, darling. Whatever her twisted plan, I promise you, she won't succeed." A genuine dread settled in. I had initially believed my father, Robert, and stepmother, Alina, invited me back home out of some lingering affection, and I'd even felt a flicker of warmth. Now, the bitter truth dawned. They had always harbored ulterior motives. Mercifully, Liam and I hadn't been intimate in recent days, which had foiled her immediate scheme. But Mia's insidious intentions crystallized a stark reality for us. Evasion was no long-term strategy. We resolved to take proactive steps, tackling the problem head-on and eradicating it at its source. Given her persistent failures, Mia wouldn't simply abandon her quest. We anticipated she'd continue her meticulous searches through our discarded items. Therefore, we decided to give her a child. There were countless single men without partners or offspring. If she was so determined to conceive, then she would. We found our ideal candidate, Mr. Lee, Liam's butler. He was past 50, physically disabled, unattractive, and without a wife or children. If Mia truly yearned for a child, I would facilitate it for her. A charitable act, one might say. Following Liam's discreet call, Mr. Lee's special delivery arrived swiftly. That night, Liam and I deliberately orchestrated unusual sounds from our bedroom. The next morning, the moment I opened our door, Mia was there, rushing towards the trash can. "Sister, leaving trash out too long isn't good for your health. Let me help you," she chirped. I responded with a subtle, sarcastic smile. "Oh, thank you." She seemed oblivious to the veiled sarcasm in my tone, her gaze utterly fixated on a used condom nestled amidst the garbage. After disposing of the trash, Mia lingered in the room for an unusually long time. I activated the hidden camera Liam had cunningly installed in her room. The footage displayed her holding that very condom, proceeding to perform the act of self-insemination. Immediately after, Alina, my stepmother, walked in. Mia, radiating triumph, declared, "Sarah always boasts about her wonderful husband. Will she take her own life when she discovers I'm carrying his son?" Alina's eyes gleamed. "By then, her husband will adore you, Mia. He'll be on his knees, licking your shoes if you command it. Then I'll convince Mr. Reed to kick her out, leaving her absolutely penniless. She's always been beneath you since childhood. She'll never amount to anything more than you." Her mother couldn't defeat me when she was alive, and even after her death, she foolishly believed I was her dearest friend, treating me like her own daughter. How incredibly naive. Now her daughter is no different. She stands no chance against you. Through the lens of the camera, I bore witness to the horrific spectacle of mother and daughter, Alina and Mia, spewing their venomous insults, not just at me, but at my late mother. It was in that agonizing moment that the full, horrifying truth crashed down upon me. Even while my mother was alive, Alina, her supposed best friend, had secretly been having an affair with my father, Robert. My naive, childish belief that she was a second mother to me felt like a betrayal. I clenched my fists, a silent, unyielding vow forming in my heart. I would never forgive either of these wicked women. In the days that followed, seemingly intent on confirming her pregnancy, Mia meticulously continued her routine of coming to our room to empty the trash, always on time. Then, about 2 weeks later, she abruptly ceased. The offers to help with the trash vanished. During dinner, before the entire family, she paused, then shyly announced her joyful news. "Everyone," she began, a hesitant smile gracing her lips, "I have wonderful news. I'm pregnant." I observed my father, Robert. He displayed no surprise whatsoever. In fact, a hint of pride played on his features. It immediately clicked. He had been privy to this scheme all along. How utterly absurd. A man who had betrayed his wife with her closest friend, what semblance of affection could I ever hope to receive from him? I offered a subtle, knowing smile, my eyes drifting towards Mia. "Congratulations, little sister," I said, my tone deceptively soft, before pressing on. "But who is the father of this child? You're pregnant before marriage. Are you truly planning to raise a child out of wedlock?" Elinor's face blanched. She shot me a furious glare. "Are you jealous because your sister got pregnant so easily? It's perfectly understandable, given you've been married for so long without conceiving." Before she could finish, Liam cut in, his voice sharp and laced with disdain. "Whether we have children or not is absolutely none of your business." Elinor fell silent, though her eyes still burned with palpable animosity. Mia clutched her belly, as if in a defiant stance against an enemy. "What do you understand, sister? What if it is a child out of wedlock? If you knew who the father was, you'd only envy my destiny." Then she turned her tearful gaze to Liam. "Brother-in-law, do you support me bringing this child into the world?" Liam answered with a chilling, mocking laugh. "If you're so determined to have it, then by all means, go ahead. I fully support you as a single mother." His gaze then shifted to me, laden with unspoken meaning. "If she is so insistent on carrying this child, all we can do is bide our time. Let's see if that arrogant smirk remains when she discovers the baby is not mine, but the disabled Butler's." Mia, however, completely misread Liam's sarcasm as heartfelt support. "Thank you, brother-in-law, I knew you'd be on my side." I inwardly scoffed, too disdainful to engage in an argument. Liam, meanwhile, kept piling my plate with my favorite braised pork belly, but today it was strangely unappetizing. I dry-heaved twice. Mia and Elinor witnessed this, and their faces instantly contorted. Mia sprang to her feet, demanding, "Sister, are you pregnant?" I calmly responded, "Even if I am pregnant, there's absolutely no need for you to be so agitated." Realizing her abruptness, Mia quickly softened her tone. "I'm just worried about you, sister. I hear pregnancy can be very difficult. You've only just launched your company. If you're pregnant now, it's simply not the right time. Don't sacrifice your entire future for a child. It might be better to consider an abortion." Her absurd and frankly comical suggestion almost made me burst into laughter. "You, unmarried, can choose to have a child. Yet I, a married woman, should abort mine? Has the baby in your womb rendered you utterly senseless?" Mia's brazen arrogance ignited Liam's fury. He sharply reprimanded her, warning her to cease meddling in our private matters. His piercing gaze silenced her instantly, though his profound concern for me was visibly etched onto his face. He wanted to rush me to the hospital without a moment's delay. However, Mia abruptly interjected, using lunchtime as a flimsy excuse, claiming pregnancy was hardly a matter of such urgency. She snatched her own pregnancy test results from my hand with an air of insufferable confidence, emphatically proclaiming the invaluable preciousness of both herself and her unborn child. She then contemptuously contrasted this with what she deemed my coarse and worthless self and the fetus I carried. Her illogical and utterly insensitive argument left me speechless. This crude and dismissive comparison only served to underscore her inherent selfishness and petty nature. "How can you even compare yourself to me, sister?" she sneered. "My body is precious, my child is precious. You've been a rough and tough worker since childhood, always doing chores. The child you're carrying isn't nearly as precious. There's no need to be so delicate," she finished, her voice dripping with scorn. She wasn't entirely wrong. After my mother's passing, Elinor had indeed told me my health was poor and that I needed to perform numerous chores to strengthen myself, lest I meet the same early demise as my mother. Consequently, from a young age, I had undertaken every conceivable task, effectively serving as a live-in maid in my own home. I had never shared these painful experiences with Liam, partly to avoid sounding like a perpetual victim, and partly because the mere recollection of my mother's loss was unbearable. This was the very first time Liam had heard of my past hardships. He first tenderly stroked my head, his expression filled with profound pity, before turning his furious gaze upon Elinor and Mia. He roughly pushed Mia away, creating a protective barrier between her and me. How dare you people mistreat my wife? Eleanor, realizing Mia's blunder, quickly interjected. We only did it for her own good, son. Her health wasn't robust before, so doing many chores helped to strengthen her body. My father, Robert, quickly affirmed, yes, that's right, lots of chores for physical conditioning. Liam scoffed at their words. If it was purely for physical training, then from now on, Mia can handle all the housework. You can dismiss all the maids. Father, you often preach that a bowl of water must be equally distributed. So all the chores my wife has undertaken, let your beloved younger daughter, Mia, also perform some. Otherwise, my wife will surely perceive your favoritism, and she won't be content. My father, Robert, who had always feigned affection for me in front of Liam, now found his charade impossible to maintain upon hearing that his precious daughter would be subjected to arduous chores. Liam, you don't understand. Little Mia has never done such tasks, and now she's pregnant. I fear she simply can't handle it. Today, my father's true, unvarnished face was laid bare for me. He had never uttered such words when I was the one doing all the work. Fortunately, any lingering affection I might have once held for him had long since evaporated. His callous attitude could no longer wound me. Liam, unfazed by my father's objections, calmly reminded him, Father, if she truly can't handle it, then there's simply nothing to be done. Didn't you approach me about the Reed Group investing in your company? Well, I must be frank. If you cannot ensure fair treatment within your own household, then I too will find it inconvenient to proceed with any investment. Upon the mention of investment, my father's face immediately broke into a wide, eager grin. This company had been entirely my mother's creation. After her passing, my father, utterly devoid of business acumen, had presided over its steady decline, pushing it to the brink of bankruptcy. Liam's investment, therefore, was nothing short of a divine lifeline. He had to secure it at all costs. Son-in-law, rest assured, I will absolutely ensure your satisfaction. With those words, he dragged Mia to the kitchen, pointed at the sink where the maid's unwashed dishes still lay, and declared, From this moment on, these are your responsibilities. Clean them impeccably. Do not anger your brother-in-law, because if he withholds his investment, our family company will be ruined. Eleanor, seething, gnashed her teeth, poised to speak, but my father roared, Silence! If you dare to bankrupt my company, I swear I won't let you get away with it. Eleanor ultimately bit back her words, and Mia, despite her growing belly, could only begin her chores with a resentful expression. To ensure she didn't shirk her duties, Liam even specially hired someone to keep a close watch on her. And to help me find some catharsis, Liam immediately took me to the hospital. The test results came back swiftly. I was indeed pregnant, and all indicators were perfectly normal. Seeing the confirmation, Liam joyfully swept me into a tight embrace, kissing me passionately. Wife, he murmured, his voice thick with emotion, I truly married the most incredible woman. And now, we're having a child, I'm so unbelievably happy. I nestled into his arms. I'm very happy too, I confessed, but I'm a little curious. Are you truly going to invest in my father's company? He chuckled softly. Of course, I won't genuinely help him. I know that company was your mother's legacy, her life's work. I will absolutely reclaim it for you. Hearing his unwavering resolve, a profound sense of peace washed over me. I planted a fierce kiss on his cheek. Husband, you're the absolute best. Before, when Liam first pursued me, I was plagued by anxieties that our vastly different family backgrounds would prevent any good outcome. Thus, despite his 10 years of relentless pursuit, I never agreed. Yet, it wasn't until I finally committed to him that I realized all my fears had been utterly baseless. He is, simply put, a man whose entire being is devoted to love. Now, I harbor absolutely no doubts about his profound affection for me. Back from the hospital, Liam immediately instructed his staff to begin packing our belongings. After all, now that I was pregnant, enduring the presence of this malicious family felt deeply unsafe. Leaving them was, unequivocally, the best course of action. However, Mia immediately panicked upon seeing our packed bags. How can you two possibly leave? Liam looked at her, a hint of confusion in his gaze. Why can't we leave? I added. Indeed, we've been here quite a while. Our elders at home have mentioned how much they miss us. It's time we returned. Mia, completely flustered, stumbled over her words. No, you two can't just abandon me. I'm pregnant. Liam paid no heed to her frantic rambling, curtly snapping, Out of your mind. Before pulling me away, Mia wailed tragically, Brother-in-law, you can't leave, I'm pre. Before she could finish, a leaner quickly appeared, silencing her. You too, don't take offense at your sister. She merely doesn't want you to leave, which is why she's trying to stop you. I feigned ignorance with a sweet smile. Really? I never knew my sister cared for me so deeply. Under Alina's stifling glare, Mia finally bit back her remaining words. On our way home, I accessed the hidden camera feed from their house. I watched as Alina plotted with Mia. You were far too impatient today, Mia. Don't you realize? You've only just conceived. Right now, Sarah and Liam are in a very strong phase of their relationship. If they knew you were carrying his child, they would undoubtedly force you to abort it. The Reed family is powerful. We cannot escape their influence. But wait until you've given birth. That will be a life. They won't be able to do anything to a living child. Do you understand? Mia grumbled, but I'm genuinely furious. Why is my child's father stolen by that despicable woman? And now she's pregnant too. What if she gives birth to a son? Alina's eyes glinted with a cunning light. Then you must quickly find a way to get close to Liam, Mia. Work hard to make him truly adore you. By then, the child in your womb will naturally be revered by him. Mia giggled shyly, lost in a daydream of the day she would usurp my position. All this while, Liam had also been monitoring the camera. Hearing their scheme, he scoffed derisively. A beautiful fantasy indeed. If that's the game they wish to play, then I'll gladly indulge them. Mia wasted no time. Not long after I returned home, she engineered a situation that resulted in my mother-in-law, Mrs. Reed, bringing her back to our house. Mrs. Reed had initially gone to a party, but returned looking utterly distraught. Mia, ever so gently, supported and comforted her, their interaction appearing remarkably intimate. I inquired and learned that Mrs. Reed had faced peril at the party. A crystal chandelier in the ballroom had unexpectedly plummeted. Had Mia not bravely intervened to save her, Mrs. Reed might have suffered fatal injuries. Mia, it seemed, had sustained minor injuries during the rescue. My dear sister, I began, a hint of curiosity in my voice, how incredibly resourceful of you. To think, it's your first time at such a grand party, and you managed to save my mother-in-law. But I must confess, I'm rather curious. How did you even gain entry to such a prestigious banquet? To my knowledge, you didn't receive an invitation. My father's company was a small-scale operation, entirely beneath the notice of high society, making it impossible for Mia to have received an invitation. As expected, when I pressed the question, Mia's expression faltered. Mrs. Reed, too, began to eye her with suspicion. Mia stammered, utterly at a loss for a coherent explanation, resorting instead to a tearful plea of innocence. Auntie, what transpired today was a mere coincidence. In that split second, I saw the chandelier falling directly towards you, and without a moment's hesitation, I instinctively rushed to your aid. Mrs. Reed, seeing Mia's eyes brimming with tears, felt an immediate pang of guilt. She gently patted Mia's hand, offering comfort. My dear child, I meant nothing by it. Thank you so much for what you did today. Mia, seizing the opportunity, added, Auntie, thank you for believing in me. Truthfully, the very first time I saw you, I felt an inexplicable kinship, an unconscious desire to be close to you. These words delighted Mrs. Reed. I sighed. My mother-in-law was good in every possible way, but she was far too naive, placing her trust in everyone. My father-in-law had shielded her excessively, leaving her utterly oblivious to the malevolence that lurked in human hearts. As I sighed, Mrs. Reed suddenly took my hand and said, Sarah, you're pregnant now, and it must be rather dull for you at home. Your sister, Mia, is also pregnant, and she mentioned that your parents' house has been mortgaged, and they're now living in a rented place. It's simply not conducive for her to carry her pregnancy there. How about she stays here for a while? We have plenty of rooms, and you two sisters can keep each other company. I had never confided in my mother-in-law about the intricacies of my family, so she remained unaware of Mia's peculiar nature, believing she was acting in my best interest. Mia, overhearing Mrs. Reed's suggestion, beamed triumphantly. Noticing my hesitation to agree, she feigned a sorrowful expression. Auntie, if sister doesn't approve, then please, don't let me cause any unhappiness between you two. I can always find another place to stay. Mrs. Reed immediately interjected, You foolish child. How could your sister possibly disagree? She'll be absolutely thrilled. And just like that, Mrs. Reed directly arranged for Mia to reside in our home, leaving me no opportunity to object. That evening, upon Liam's return, his face instantly darkened as he saw Mia comfortably seated on the sofa, chatting with Mrs. Reed. "Why are you here?" he demanded. Mia cautiously stood, casting a wronged look at Mrs. Reed. "I had nowhere else to go. Auntie kindly offered for me to stay." Mrs. Reed, oblivious, explained, "I asked Mia to stay. Things have been busy lately, and Sarah gets lonely at home." It's wonderful that her sister is also pregnant. The two expectant mothers will have plenty to discuss. Liam scoffed at Mrs. Reed's words. "Let her stay in my house?" He was about to say more, but I tugged subtly at his sleeve. He understood my unspoken cue and remained silent. I led him back to our room and explained, "Husband, I strongly suspect that her heroic rescue of your mother today was an elaborate act, staged purely to infiltrate our home. If her immediate objective isn't achieved, she'll likely concoct another scheme. We cannot afford to be complacent. It's far better to keep her right under our noses, monitoring her every move." My husband, though a touch reluctant, ultimately agreed. When we re-emerged, Liam made no further mention of expelling her. Mia, misinterpreting his silence as reluctance to part with her, was visibly delighted. "Brother-in-law, you truly are a wonderful man." Liam paid her no mind, but she, ever restless, couldn't contain herself. Seizing the moment I headed to the restroom, she deliberately blocked my path and began to provoke me. "Sister," she began, her tone laced with malice, "I think mother-in-law genuinely adores me." Today, she even remarked how wonderful it would be to have a daughter like me. "It seems you're not proving to be a very satisfactory daughter-in-law. I'm far more endearing than you. Look, even Liam treats me a little differently now. It appears that even with your pregnancy, you're still not truly loved. Your child truly is a wasted effort." Confronted with her smug, contemptuous expression, I chose not to engage in a verbal spat. Instead, I simply turned and delivered a sharp slap across her face. "Shut your mouth, you're asking for death." She clutched her cheek, utterly stunned. "How dare you hit me? Do you have a death wish?" It wasn't surprising she displayed such arrogance. From childhood, my father had consistently favored her and her mother. To secure even a few days of peace, I had always chosen to endure. Typically, when Mia bullied me, I would simply absorb it. So, my sudden, uncharacteristic retaliation naturally left her aghast. Just then, Liam and Mrs. Reed, having heard the commotion, rushed over. Mia, seeing them, immediately burst into theatrical tears. "Brother-in-law, Auntie, I don't understand why sister is behaving this way. I merely expressed my gratitude for your kindness, and she, clearly upset, suddenly slapped me." Her talent for twisting truth into lies remained as formidable as ever. Liam, hearing her account, frowned and turned his gaze to me. "Wife, is what she's saying true?" Mrs. Reed also looked at me with a disapproving expression. Mia, emboldened by the perceived support, grew even more smug, lifting her chin in defiance. I met Liam's gaze and nodded. "Yes, I truly did strike her, it's just that." Before I could elaborate, Liam, a hint of displeasure in his voice, cut me off. "Regardless of the reason, you cannot resort to physical violence." Mrs. Reed echoed. "Precisely, how can you possibly hit someone?" Mia, reveling in the apparent support, grew even more self-satisfied, continuing her pitiful charade. "Actually, sister didn't mean to. It's just that she's always been jealous of me since childhood. Now, seeing everyone showering me with attention, she simply couldn't restrain herself." Her voice trailed off, becoming softer and softer as she realized that no one was actually paying her any mind. Both my mother-in-law and Liam were now looking at me, their faces etched with genuine concern. "Wife, please don't do that again. You're pregnant. What if something terrible happens if you get violent?" Liam admonished, while Mrs. Reed added, "That's right, Sarah, you're carrying a child now. You mustn't exert yourself so strenuously." Liam thoroughly checked me from head to toe, only relaxing after confirming I was completely unharmed. Mrs. Reed also let out a sigh of relief. "It's good that you're all right, Sarah. Next time, we simply cannot be so impulsive. If you ever feel the urge to hit someone, just let our house guards handle it for you. They're strong and they'll hit far harder than you ever could." I nodded, leaning into Liam's reassuring embrace. "Thank you for your concern, Mother. I won't be so rash next time." Mrs. Reed, appeased, nodded in satisfaction. Mia, witnessing their unwavering concern for me, grew visibly agitated. "Auntie," she whimpered, "but *I was the one who was hit. Sister struck *me." Liam retorted with a dismissive scoff. "So what if she hit you? If you dislike it so much, you're free to leave." Mrs. Reed's demeanor towards Mia abruptly turned frigid. "Mia, while I am profoundly grateful for your actions today in saving me, that does not grant you license to provoke my daughter-in-law." Today, Sarah was fortunate that her unborn child remained unharmed. Otherwise, I assure you, I would not be so lenient. I was astonished. My usually gentle mother-in-law possessed such a fierce and formidable side. Mia was clearly rattled by Mrs. Reed's sudden transformation. "But Auntie," she pleaded, aggrieved, "I'm pregnant too." Mrs. Reed, utterly unfazed, shot back, "And what concern is that of mine? Your child is not a member of our family." "This child is," Mia, hearing Mrs. Reed's near revelation, almost blurted out that the child was Liam's, but managed to catch herself just in time. "Auntie, I'm truly sorry. I provoked Sister today. I promise it won't happen again." Only then did Mrs. Reed nod in satisfaction and proceed to dinner. Liam, still overly concerned for my well-being, gently embraced me and led me back to our room to rest. Time passed swiftly. In the blink of an eye, both Mia and I were over 3 months pregnant. During this period, Mia, still residing in our home, continually demanded the exact same nutritious meals as me. Initially, Liam was reluctant to allow her to freeload, but I gently reassured him. "She's carrying Mr. Lee's child, and Mr. Lee has yearned for a child of his own for many years. For his sake, let's simply provide her with some sustenance." Aside from this, she caused no further trouble, yet I never once lowered my guard, always remaining vigilant. And indeed, my caution proved justified. After feigning such good behavior for so long, she finally succumbed to her true nature and decided to make her move. Due to my pregnancy and need for uninterrupted rest, and Liam's frequent late nights and demanding work schedule impacting my sleep, he thoughtfully suggested we temporarily occupy separate bedrooms. Initially, we kept this arrangement private, but eventually, it became difficult to conceal. That fateful night, Mia intercepted the nanny bringing Liam his nightly glass of milk, discreetly adding a potent drug to it. She believed her actions were entirely covert, but our home was replete with surveillance cameras. Every single one of her movements was meticulously observed by both Liam and me. Liam, feigning to drink the milk, then instructed the nanny to pour it into the bird's nest soup that Mia was required to consume daily. Mia, utterly oblivious, drank every last drop. By the time she burst into Liam's room, her body had already begun to react, and she quickly lost consciousness. In the darkness, she failed to realize that the man with whom she was intimately entwined was not Liam, the object of her fervent obsession, but Mr. Lee, the very father of her unborn child. Mia's cruelty was truly remarkable. The drugs she employed were exceptionally powerful. Even with soundproofed rooms, ours was directly adjacent, and the sounds of their intimate encounter still faintly permeated the walls. She and Mr. Lee remained entangled until late into the night, when finally, the commotion subsided. The next morning, a blood-curdling scream tore through the silence. I immediately rushed to witness the unfolding drama. My in-laws, hearing the commotion, also feared for my safety and hurried over. Mia, seeing us, her body shrouded in a blanket, wept theatrically like a wilting flower. "Sister, I'm so terribly sorry. Last night I felt incredibly dizzy and somewhat disoriented, and I mistakenly entered the wrong room and brother-in-law and we had relations." It was then I realized she still hadn't discovered that the man beside her wasn't Liam. As for Mr. Lee, perhaps due to his advanced age, he seemed to have succumbed to the night's strenuous activities. He lay deeply asleep, his entire body buried under the blankets, making his identity completely indiscernible. My in-laws, entirely unaware of Liam's and my intricate plan, genuinely believed he had wronged me. Both of them trembled with fury. "That wretched boy, I'll beat him within an inch of his life." Witnessing their distress, Mia cast a quick, triumphant glance in my direction. I knew, at that very moment, she was reveling in her perceived victory. Just then, Liam's voice resonated from outside. "Father, Mother, why are you scolding me so early in the morning? What could I possibly have done?" My in-laws, witnessing him emerge from my asterisk room, immediately fell silent, their anger dissolving into confusion. Mia, upon seeing my husband, gasped, her eyes wide with shock. Then she spun around and with a swift tug ripped the blanket from the man beside her. Instantly, Mia let out a blood-curdling shriek. "Who are you? Why are you in my bed?" At that moment, the man on the bed finally opened his eyes and sat up. Mia's gaze fell upon his face. A man around 50, his features disfigured by a large, terrifying burn scar. This was Mr. Lee, the butler. Utterly repulsed by his appearance, gagged and vomited uncontrollably. "You've utterly defiled my reputation. I'll kill you." Mr. Lee, hearing her outburst, merely looked pitiful. This is my room, ma'am. You suddenly burst in the middle of the night and began disrobing without a word. You wouldn't even let me explain. How can you possibly blame me for defiling your reputation? Mia shrieked frantically. You're lying. This is Liam's room. Liam, hearing her accusation, turned to Mia, his voice chillingly calm. I lent this room to Mr. Lee, so you knew I would be sleeping in this room, which is precisely why you came. Isn't that your twisted plan? My in-laws, finally comprehending the full extent of the scheme, rounded on Mia, their faces contorted with disgust. So, you were deliberately targeting my son? How can such a shameless girl even exist? Get out of my house this instant. Do not defile our home any longer. Mia wept bitterly, pleading incessantly with my in-laws not to cast her out. Uncle, Auntie, please don't banish me. I swear I'll never dare to do such a thing again. But she had irrevocably crossed a line. My in-laws couldn't even bear to look at her. She cried hysterically. Mr. Lee, aware she was carrying his child, felt a surge of pity. He trembled, reaching out to help her to her feet, but in an unfortunate twist, his prosthetic right leg slipped out from beneath the blanket. Mia, utterly horrified, turned deathly pale and slapped him across the face. Mia subsequently informed my father, Robert, and stepmother, Eleanor. The two of them immediately set out to confront my in-laws, demanding justice. Unfortunately, before they could even meet Mrs. and Mr. Reed, they were intercepted by security guards at the gate. Mia, still defiant, knelt outside for a prolonged period, but failed to sway my in-laws. They were ultimately driven away. Yet, before departing, she couldn't resist delivering a final, ominous threat to me. Sarah, don't get too complacent. I have a very special gift I intend to send you. I truly hope you're capable of handling it when it arrives. I knew precisely what special gift she was alluding to. I scoffed. I adore surprises, but you'd better make it quick. For a considerable time afterward, I heard absolutely nothing from Mia. Liam, worried she might be secretly plotting, specifically assigned people to keep tabs on her. They reported that she was indeed behaving herself, diligently resting and nurturing her pregnancy. It was rumored she even pulled some strings to ascertain the fetus's gender. It was a boy. Upon receiving this news, her family of 3 celebrated as if it were the grandest festival. Despite their company's recent bankruptcy and the confiscation of their home, they exhibited not a trace of sadness. My father's family was utterly convinced that the Reed family's first male heir resided within Mia's womb. They fully intended to leverage this to extort wealth and status from my in-laws. However, their meticulously crafted scheme was doomed to spectacular failure. My delivery day arrived swiftly. Thanks to a meticulously planned, scientific diet throughout my pregnancy, the birthing process unfolded smoothly. Liam, however, was a wreck of anxiety. After I delivered, he gripped my hand, sobbing uncontrollably. Wife, he choked out, childbirth is far too terrifying. From now on, I'm getting a vasectomy. We're not having any more children. My in-laws readily agreed, as my father-in-law had always desired Liam to be an only son, sparing Mrs. Reed the hardships of multiple pregnancies. I had given birth to a baby girl. The newborn, while a little wrinkled and not overtly pretty, was showered with love and adoration by my in-laws and Liam, who vied for the chance to hold her. My in-laws even declared then and there that their entire family fortune would belong to our granddaughter. But our joy was tragically short-lived. Mia appeared, cradling a baby in her arms, accompanied by my father, Robert, and my stepmother, Eleanor. My in-laws' expressions instantly hardened at the sight of Mia. What are you doing here? Haven't your repulsive antics been enough? My father, by now fully aware that Liam was behind his company's downfall, dropped all pretense. He bluntly announced, "We've come to bring our grandson to meet his father." Mia knelt, holding the infant, and declared, "Uncle, Auntie, I know my past actions have caused you disappointment, but I want you to know this child is truly Liam's son." My in-laws' eyes widened in disbelief as they roared, "What absolute nonsense are you spouting? This is impossible." I interjected, "Exactly. Do you possess any proof whatsoever that this child belongs to my husband?" She hesitated. The act of stealing our used condom was a humiliation she was clearly reluctant to admit. After a moment of pregnant silence, she gritted her teeth and confessed, "When you two returned to your parents' house, I secretly took the used condom from your trash and inseminated myself. That's how I conceived this baby." I admit my methods were less than honorable, but this child is asterisk Liam's son. Go ahead, get a DNA test if you don't believe me. Mia's shocking confession left my entire husband's family utterly stunned. My in-laws, seasoned individuals though they were, couldn't suppress their horrified reactions. Eleanor, unable to endure our silence a moment longer, angrily shrieked, "Regardless, this baby is a Reed family grandchild. Whether you acknowledge him or not, you are asterisk obligated asterisk too. As for Sarah, you ought to proactively file for divorce. My daughter's son is infinitely more valuable than your daughter." Mia, my stepsister, quickly added, "Sister, I've borne the Reed family a son. Children must take precedence in all matters. For the sake of your daughter's future, you should divorce and make way for us." Liam, observing their family's theatrical display, couldn't stifle a cynical laugh. He calmly stated, "Your family desires my child to be acknowledged, to have a complete family, correct? Very well, I shall assist you." He stepped out and returned moments later, accompanied by a limping Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, upon seeing the baby in Mia's arms, beamed with joy, eagerly reaching out to hold his grandchild. Mia, likely recalling the terrifying night of intimacy, recoiled in fear. But Liam deliberately pushed Mr. Lee towards her. "Why are you shying away? Don't you want your child to have a complete family? Its biological father wishes to meet his child, and you refuse him." Liam's pointed question left Mia utterly stunned. I then spoke, my voice clear. "That's right, Mr. Lee is indeed the biological father of the baby." My words seemed to shatter Mia's delusions. She descended into madness, dragging Mr. Lee to a DNA testing center. The results were swiftly confirmed. The baby was, without a doubt, Mr. Lee's child. Realizing she had been thoroughly deceived, Mia erupted into a furious rage, storming our house with the intent to kill me. However, our stringent security measures thwarted her murderous plot. Unable to exact her revenge on me, she redirected her boiling anger towards Eleanor, her own mother. In a horrifying climax, she murdered her own biological mother, Eleanor, stabbing her over a dozen times in a fit of uncontrollable rage. "It's all your fault," she shrieked hysterically. "If you hadn't concocted this insane idea, I wouldn't have given birth to that loathsome child." My stepsister, Mia, was ultimately spared the death penalty due to a diagnosed mental disorder. Her child was carefully raised by Mr. Lee. My father, Robert, utterly devastated after a series of misfortunes and failed attempts to secure loans, fled to Southeast Asia in search of a new life and vanished without a trace. Liam and I, hand in hand, visited my mother's grave. We informed her that justice had been served and vowed to always protect our precious daughter. Together, we descended the mountain, the future stretching brightly before us, filled with a joy that finally began to soothe the profound ache of past losses.